Welcome, everyone, to the Aging and Spirituality podcast. This is where we focus on how we can have a very fulfilled life after the age of 60. And I am Kathy Lee Taylor,
And
and
I'm
your,
Coach Justin Jensen.
your co host is Chris Jensen. And today we're going to be exploring something that most people avoid talking about. But the thing about it is, most people feel it at some point in their life, and that subject is loneliness.
Mhm.
It's like this heavy ooh thing comes over, even when you say the word, right? Like loneliness. But here's the twist. I'm gonna attack this from a little different point of view. I'm gonna offer you a way to see loneliness differently, not as a flaw, not as a failure, but as a sacred signal. Think about that, as a sacred signal. I've been experiencing it myself in different ways lately, and that feeling of a sacred signal was like, of course, how could I miss that? Like, this is what it's all about. So we're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk about it. It's not a personal defect when you feel loneliness. You haven't done something wrong. It's not like you have to like get out there and, you know, a attack the world, so that you're not lonely. It's a spiritual doorway. And I want you to think about that way as we have this conversation. And I'm going to show you how I got to that particular point of view and how it really helped me in something that I was feeling myself. So, it became not a question of, oh, there's something wrong with me and I feel lonely, so I got to fix it. No, it really became an invitation from my soul to connect, to
Yeah.
remember to love, to
And relocate.
belong in a deeper way, you know? Isn't that a sweeter way to look at it? I mean, yeah, let's really take a look at what that means for someone who might be experiencing that right now. And when I say someone that is experiencing it, you can't go a day without hearing on the news what an epidemic loneliness is.
Yeah, I
The
was
truth is,
watching this medical doctor I watch on TV sometimes, and he was talking about the factors that cause serious illnesses, and loneliness is right on his chart.
yeah.
He said
And
it is huge. It's a
and are you like me? Like when you hear people talk about loneliness, that like what they say just like bounces off me. Like that shit does not work for me. I'm sorry, forgive my word there, but it's like a lot of time it's like they don't understand what's going on here, and I never really put it together until I started thinking about it from this point of view, and the whole idea just kind of started to flow out of me, and I was like, of course that's what it's about. It's this connection that we're really looking for, but that whole loneliness thing gets stigmatized, actually, especially after the age of 60,
Mhm.
65.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't want to admit that we feel lonely. It makes us sound weak and needy.
We
But
expect old people to be lonely.
yeah, everyone experienced loneliness at some time. And here's the thing.
Any
E-
age.
Even when any age, even when you're surrounded by family and friends.
Mhm.
And this is the thing that you can understand why this is distinct. You can be alone and very happy. You can also be in a crowd and be very lonely. So why is that?
Yeah, I
Because
got to a point like that when I was getting divorced from my ex-husband, and I was talking to the marriage and family counselor by myself, and
mm,
she said she met him once, and she said, "You must have been very lonely married to that man."
oh,
And
yikes.
I thought, what? What? But
What?
then I realized I always sought out. I always had like a good friend, and not
Something else to do.
yeah, somebody that I really connected with and
Yeah.
shared all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until she said that.
Oh, that's wild.
And that's really a thing for I think for a lot of people. We don't even
Very,
realize the
very true.
root cause, that we
Yeah.
didn't have a connection like that.
That kind of spiritual connection with a friend. So, and that's really what we're going to talk about too. That's a great example of it because, loneliness is it's not just an absence of people. It's about the absence of meaningful presence,
Mhm.
just like Chris described. married to somebody for a lot of years, but the fulfillment didn't come inside of the relationship.
Hmm.
Went looking for friends, went looking for yoga, went looking for something else to do because that connection was not there.
Hmm.
And we need that connection. We need that connection that nourishes our spirit, not just fills up our time.
Hmm.
We need that sense of belonging somewhere with someone. It's a hunger to be seen and heard and known. And guess what? That longing is sacred.
Yes, it is.
It's coming from your soul. That gives me chill just saying that.
I know. I know. Yeah.
And for many of us on the spiritual path, that hunger isn't just emotional, it's sacred. It's the soul saying, go deeper,
It's a
go
soul
farther,
song.
go
Yeah.
farther, right? We've heard that so many times in our yoga teaching. Go
Yeah.
farther. The soul is trying to take you farther. So the trick is to stop and listen to it and ask what it's truly yearning for. Think about that. The next time you get lonely, you're going to stop and you're going to listen and you'll think and ask, what is it that my soul's trying to tell me? What am I yearning for? That one really helped me. It was very revelatory. I was actually okay. This is a true confession, but this is what I did. I was actually in Chat GPT, and I was talking to it about what does it mean to be lonely and blah. And it the words that it used was so weird. It was like, oh, you're just deeply lonely at a soul level, and I went, what? What is? Wait, but of course, my logic went, the soul's not lonely. The soul's eternal, pure, painless. But I get what it's trying to say. Like my soul's reaching out, trying to connect in a way that's wants me to go deeper. Look at the loneliness and figure out what's happening there.
Right, right, because there's the presence of the soul of spirit there all the time.
Right.
So we're never really alone, but
Never.
we have to connect.
And in that interesting, we're never really alone, but we go through periods of feeling lonely. And
Mhm.
that's what this whole
That's
investigation is all about.
right.
So let's talk about, relationships for a minute because that's what connections typically is about. We have casual acquaintances, we have people that we might see at church or book club or yoga class or even in the grocery store. But they're not connections that are deep or mutual or spiritually alive, really. There's quite a bit of difference between
Hmm. Hmm.
spiritual companionship and surface level relationships. Like the relationship I have with Chris is definitely spiritual companionship has been since day one. So one of the things that actually kept me on the path and going, and you know, I don't have a lot of those, but the one that I have is so deep and helpful that it's lasted, I don't know, 40 something years now.
Yeah, a long time. And that's it doesn't have to be a lot of people.
Yeah, no kidding. So, and that connection, that spiritual companion isn't someone who's making small talk. Let's just, take a look at what that should look like for you. If you're wondering, is my friend a spiritual companion or not? This is somebody that you can pray with, cry with, share your silence with. Tell them your deepest desires and your fears, as well as the things that you've done wrong. You can admit your mistakes to this person and you feel safe. And that someone doesn't judge you, but they remind you who you truly are,
Hmm.
that you're a soul in a human body on a spiritual journey, and they love you no matter what. Can you see the depth of how important that is to not feel lonely? You're connected to somebody else on the planet Earth that feels and understands the universe in the way that you do and can help you through the rough spots.
Hmm.
That's such a blessing. It really is. So ask yourself, who do I feel like I fully can be myself around? Who listens to me without trying to fix me? This is a big
Yeah,
one.
that's a big one.
That's a big
That's a
one.
big one.
I am the first person to admit I was a fixer for so many years, and it was coming from a good place, but it was the wrong way to go.
We all want to help, but
You all want to
help
help.
isn't fixing somebody.
Yes, 100%. Most of the times it's just being present and listening. Deep
Yep.
listening. I learned that when I think that's why I got into coaching because I learned that there. All you got to do is be a deep listener. You don't have to try to fix everything in the world.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my daughter yesterday, and she went off on this whole thing. And I think I said 4 words. I
That
mostly listened to her, and then about a half hour later, she said to me, "Oh, I feel so much better now that we talked."
we talked. There you go.
She needed someone to listen empathetically.
Well, you've been a spiritual guide to her whole life, so that's funny. Okay, so that's my last point. Who can you call when you feel spiritually lost and they can guide you back into your connection? In Z's case, that's her mom. That person is your spiritual friend, and they are a huge blessing. So, when you're done listening to this podcast, pick up the phone and call them and tell them how much you love them because we can't make it on this planet without them. We really can't. And, also, I got to say, if no one comes to mind, it's okay. This conversation isn't about shame, it's about getting clarity so you can start calling in the people into your world that are the kind of companionship that really fulfills you
Mhm.
and makes you both better human beings. You know, now, if you've never heard this before, you know the parameters of what a spiritual connection can look like, and you can look for it.
And when you're ready, that person's going to appear.
Yeah,
You know,
that's for
when
sure.
you're ready inside to have that and
Yes,
appreciate it.
right.
You
And appreciate it. It's
know,
like having a teacher, a spiritual teacher. When you're
yeah,
ready for them, they do show up.
show up. Yeah.
It's the same thing with a spiritual companion. Um, Yeah, it made me just going down this road made me think about companionship and what I need in terms of being lonely so differently. So, like you can be in a crowd and you can feel lonely and you can feel completely full in solitude.
Hmm.
Let that sink in. Like solitude is not a punishment. It's some of the best times of my life have been spent in silence.
Hmm.
And I think about retreats, we used to go on and just be silent for days at a time. Some of the most revealing, most deep, most fulfilling experiences came from silence.
Yeah, when our mind isn't chattering all the time, we get more in touch
You
with
get you're available to soul at that
the
point. So,
soul. Mhm.
yeah, so when you approach solitude with intention, it really becomes like she was just describing like a sanctuary. It's a time to connect with your deepest self and with the divine. You should probably plan on doing that. Like, I mean, once or twice a week or once a day if you can, like even at the end of the day when you're
Small
going to
amount of time.
bed, just make it a habit, part of your meditation practice. Connect with the deepest part of yourself and with the divine. Be open to that. It's in that solitude where you can hear the voices that you need to hear, where you can reconnect with that creative source and be just meditative and prayerful and appreciative. Some of the best, states of being that you can actually nurture and invite into your
Mhm.
life on this journey. So think about some of these practices. I kind of put together some ideas of how you could do this in your own life that you may not have thought about before. Like, for example, do a daily sacred listening practice. Sit down for 10 minutes before, say, you're going to go meditate. Sit down for 10 minutes, put a hand on your heart, maybe one on your second or third chakra, and just ask, what do I need to hear today? What do I need to know? And just listen for what your soul has to offer you. Those are really valuable moments.
If you can just, you know, listening is like receiving,
Y-
and
Receiving. Is that what you
receiving,
said? Yeah.
receiving, yeah. Because if you just listen, you're receiving. You allow yourself to receive.
Yes. 100%. So, and for those of you who like to put pen to paper, write a letter to your soul, write to God,
Mhm.
your inner elder or your future self. Let it be raw and honest and real, especially when you're in those moments of struggling. You're struggling to get an answer, you're struggling to know what you need to do in your next step. That's a really good practice to do is take it to pen and paper. You'll find your mind will calm down enough. Your mind will go with the flow, and you'll be able to get answers that you couldn't get before when you were just trying to get into your brain. Um, create a listening altar. This is if you feel really uh, like worshiping, being in a sacred space. Light a candle at night. Invite in the presence of your soul. Make it a conversation. Don't have a monologue with your soul. Make it a conversation. Ask, receive, ask, receive. And then I also put one in walk in nature because being a mindful and aware of the elements like the natives used to talk about all the time. I love to do this. In fact, I have a drum video that I will listen to, and it just makes me connected. I think about wind, fire, earth, water, directions that they take. And I just feel like when I do that, it grounds me here on earth. Um, yeah, just appreciating nature. So you can go out and do that. Just turn like you're turning towards the north. Use your little compass. Turn towards the north. Acknowledge winter.
Yeah.
Turn towards the west. Acknowledge water. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here, this connection is how you never have to feel lonely or sorry for yourself again, really. Because the soul and spirit is always with us, always. It's always whispering, I see you, I'm here, you belong. And we need to hear those things. We need to take the time to receive those messages because that's what makes us feel loved and connected.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so how do you go from longing to belonging? It really does start with courage. You're going to ask the question, who can I connect with today in a meaningful way? And I've been practicing this one, so I really like this question. I'm not talking about texting or scrolling social media. I mean somebody, a real voice, a real face, a real conversation and exchange. And right now, Chris and I talk about this all the time before we get on. I'm building a new business. And so I'm getting online with networking groups more, getting out to as many as I physically can, connecting with people that I hadn't seen for years, connecting with brand new people, like going to the grocery store and just allowing myself to bump into somebody and say, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" That kind of thing, like a total out of the blue conversation. Like, why are they look at you like, why are you talking to me? And you're just being nice. You're just connecting. It's a great practice to get into because you get outside of yourself, and you feel like you make a bit of a connection. I always stop when I see a baby. Oh, that's so cute. Look at your baby. I happen to love babies. So, and I have yet to meet a parent that gets pissed when you stop and say, God, your baby's cute. Yeah, they love, especially when they're new, they love it. So here's a few ways that I was thinking about, how to get some spiritual community going on in case that's something that you really want to do. You could host a circle, call it a soul circle, have like a monthly gathering where you come together and you talk about yoga or poetry or you meditate or you just talk about spiritual topics. We have
About
a
connecting with spirit, with your soul. Yeah.
100%. We have a yoga center has a once a week thing. Go on our
Yeah.
website, check it out. We have a once a week thing you can go to and just talk about how your yoga practice is going.
Hmm.
That's people that have been doing yoga for 50 years are hanging out there.
Hmm.
If I was starting yoga, that's where I'd want to go.
Hmm.
Join a listening group. There's a bunch of things that can happen in a church or in a retreat center, again, a yoga center, or even Zoom people, events that you can catch up on Meetup and Eventbrite and stuff like that. Um, they're focused not on teaching, but on connecting with each other,
Hmm.
witnessing each other, having conversations.
Hmm.
That's available to you as well. Be the first to reach out. Text someone and say, "Can we sit and talk soul to soul sometime soon?" Have you ever done that? Never in your life, I'm betting. Have you ever said that to somebody? Can we sit and chat soul to soul sometime soon? Like if you need something, you need that connection, don't be afraid to ask for it. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to use those words of it, just you want to chat with somebody that you trust that, can be that spiritual connection. Make sure you get the time to have those conversations. People are starving for that kind of depth right now. And
Hmm.
they just don't know how to begin. So you be the one, listener, that begins. You're going to definitely feel less lonely if you reach out. I promise you that. So, we'll leave you with this today. What if your view on loneliness became sacred? It's sacred. Take that with you. If you don't hear anything else, take that with you.
Hmm.
Make your view on loneliness be sacred. Your soul trying to connect with you, trying to tell you what to do. You know, what if your longing, your compass is the guide that's going to tell you what your next step is? That could be where you are in your progress, in your journey. What if you're craving um I'm trying to think of an example in my own life and I'm not coming up with one, but whatever you're craving, whatever maybe you want to start something new, your soul will help you. So go in and ask for it. Don't wait for other people to fix your loneliness. There's nothing wrong with you. You
Right.
don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to go to some damn school to figure out why you're lonely. Screw that. Just go.
Let's go inside. You got it all there.
Go inside. Yeah, don't believe that myth. You and stay disconnected. Just tell yourself there is no separation. I've been using that one a lot lately. I was listening to some lady talking about money. I think it was Katie Northrup or something, and how people feel really unsafe in their body and they're not able to receive money because of the training that they got as a young kid, and blah blah blah. Long story, but one of the things that she said that stuck with me was when you have that feeling of you see somebody like another woman say make a whole bunch of money. You know who doesn't see this shit all the time online? Like you go to Instagram, oh, I just made $1 million. Really? Like I want to punch you in the head. No, that's not a great. That's when you
Well,
know. That's
yeah.
that's when you'll probably want to change that reaction, right? So
Mhm.
instead, when I have that reaction, I say to myself, there is no separation. There is no separation. Good for you. You made $1 million.
Yeah, you want to wish them well.
I
You
want to receive $1 million, and there is no separate. I don't have to separate myself from that.
wish them
So
well.
that's a really powerful one. So, don't buy into all the BS. You're not too old. You're not invisible. You are needed. Your presence is medicine. We all have our own medicine. Remember that. Find yours and share it. The shamans talk about this all the time. They call that special, unique purpose inside of yourself, your medicine. And I remember going through this process with somebody, and I really came down to feeling like if a shaman was to ask me what my medicine was, it would be to literally walk away from being a victim and take those 2 steps towards God. Move away from being a victim and move towards God. That's what I feel like my medicine is. And that's what I bring with me wherever I go, in relationships, in conversations, in whatever happens in my life. That's what I'm taking with me. So
It
find
allows
that way.
that love of your soul to come through.
That's exactly
And
it.
that's why there isn't any loneliness because that soul is always there.
Yep. So find that one small way to
Hmm.
create a moment of connection today with yourself first,
Hmm.
someone else, and with the divine. And trust, you are never alone. Really, you are deeply loved and you belong. Just remember that, listeners.
And you are enough.
You are definitely enough. Okay, so if today's episode stirred up something in you, we'd love to hear from you. Go over to YouTube and subscribe and like and share. And really, truly, if the thought of, you know, not being lonely and being making it a sacred process really touched your heart, pass it on to somebody.
Mhm.
Talk to somebody about it. Help somebody else that's struggling with loneliness. So many people need that connection right now. We can build a kind world together right now. There's nothing but opportunities around us everywhere we go. You don't want anybody to feel like they're forgotten, right?
Right.
You're not
Right.
forgotten.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Until next time, stay grounded, stay luminous,
Yeah.
keep listening for that voice of your soul.
Make
We
it
love
happen.
you. See you next week.